giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Boston Scientific. We live on YouTube, we live on Facebook, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker. Still, boom! Back, baby. We're back in Skywalker Studios. Feel much more comfortable. No more banging on the whatever they was banging on yesterday. Yeah, I had a conversation. Today, we got our guy Foster King back on for our final On the Clock Draft Series show, where we will be ranking the top 5 positions in the NFL draft. Let me rephrase that. We're going to be ranking the top 5 deepest positions in the NFL draft. The top 5 deepest positions. And we're going to hit it up with our guy, Foster King, who is our NFL draft analyst, one of the many. And then we'll also talk about, which ones are mid. Yeah, there are a couple of those in this draft class as well. But make sure y'all stick around for that. Plus, in the roundup, if y'all didn't know, yesterday, there was the Cowboys annual NFL Draft Day presser. Boy, I mean, I chuckled a lot during that draft presser, and there's a few notes we'll touch on. Nick Eatman dropped an article on some of his notes. I'll include some of mine. It wasn't a whole lot. A lot of talking, a lot of nothing. The draft presser was really mid. It was mid for real. But that's to be expected, Cowboys Nation. That is to be expected. But what's good, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
Yes, sir. We are 2 days away. And I keep telling y'all, man, I can't wait, to just dive into who we take. And if y'all don't know, we usually do a segment. It's really not a segment. It's actually a whole entire series. After the Cowboys take their picks, it's called Rating the Draft. And I cannot wait to get into that. I'm going to start it off probably immediately. Probably, if not the following week, like next week, maybe later that week, because I'm just ready. I'm so ready to talk about who the Cowboys get, how they fit, and where they can go. So if y'all ready with me, drop some fire emojis in that chat. All right, let's hit this roundup because we got Foots coming on at the top of the hour. But before we hit the roundup, real quick, do I got my breaking news button? It really ain't breaking news, but I felt like if we were on yesterday when it was going on, it would have been breaking news. Where is it at? There it is. There it is. Finally, the trade went down yesterday with the Packers and the Jets. It's funny, I was talking to yesterday, and we were discussing when this would happen. I said it has to happen before the draft or on the draft, but it then boom, a couple hours later, Aaron Rodgers gets traded. So this is what the Jets get: A-Rod, pick 15, a 2023 5th-round pick, and the Packers get pick 13, a 2023 2nd-round pick, number 42. 6th-round pick, 207, and a conditional 2024 second that could become a first if he plays 65% of the plays. I mean, I get it's A-Rod, whatnot. What if he only plays 1 year? And you have to give up that second or that 1st-round pick next year, plus all those other ones. I don't know. I mean, look, for the Packers, I think this is a great get. If they were going to move on from Aaron Rodgers, they were able to stay in the 1st round. Well, not stay, but go up actually a couple picks. Get a 1st rounder next year, likely, and a couple more. I'll give this a dub to the Packers. It's only a dub for the Jets if they get to the AFC Championship game. That's what you're paying this year. You're paying for Aaron Rodgers to take you to the bowl. Other than that, he may play 1 year. Aaron Rodgers is halfway out the door. I don't know. I would have rather went and tried to get Lamar Jackson, but that's just me, Cowboys Nation. All right, enough with that. I just want to get that out the way because it was big NFL news. Let's get into the roundup.
It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time. It's time.
It is time for
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Hey, yo. By the way, with that trade, still crazy to hear this. Dak Prescott is now the longest tenured quarterback in the National Football League. Man, have times changed, man. It was drafted in 2016, so it's not even like he's been on the team for 15 years or something crazy. Wow. Wild days. House cleaning though. Yesterday, the Cowboys heading into the draft had to get rid of a few players. They cut 3. They let go of Ian Bunting, the tight end. Really just kind of your 6th type of tight end, camp body guy. Devontae Bond, who was in and out of camp. He got hurt really early. I think might have been like OTAs. And then Isaac Taylor Stewart, the cornerback, who was probably the most notable. Isaac Taylor Stewart had that size that Dan Quinn coveted. Really, it didn't click for him right away, and then he got hurt. You thought maybe he'd get a second chance at camp, but since they brought in Stephon Gilmore, Jordan Lewis is returning, Deron Bland showed up. Obviously, you got Diggs. You still got Boss Man. You still got Wright. I think the room is just too deep, and they'll probably draft another guy. And Stewart just was on outs. Plus, he must still be dealing with some injury effects because I believe these cuts, these moves were designated as not being able to pass the physical. Failed physical designation. So you got those 3 guys going. Bunting and Bond, whatever. Stewart also, it's whatever, but he's probably the most notable name of the 3. Then you had this press conference yesterday, which it went about as expected to me. A whole lot of word salad from Jerry Jones. Great dodging and ducking. Dip, duck. What is it? Dip, duck, dodge, dive, and duck. Is that what they say on the movie? From Stephen Jones. And then Mike McCarthy just being caught in the middle of a show. Man, I be feeling so bad for McCarthy doing these things. It's usually this press conference and the first press conference for training camp where they just make it so awkward for Mike McCarthy. The first 10 minutes of the press conference, they didn't even ask Mike McCarthy a question. And then Mike was like, well, shit, man, I was loving the way this presser was going. Y'all wasn't even worried about me. Think about that for a second. You're holding a draft press conference, and you don't say a word for about 10 minutes. As the head coach of the football team. Then you got Jerry Jones, right? Jerry Jones. Oh, God bless his heart. Jerry Jones is basically comedy relief at this point, man. He's comedy relief. He says a whole lot of nothing. A lot of words, but nothing. And he'll throw in these random jokes or these supposed to be shot/funny things. It's just awkward. And I'm not even talking about the last thing he said. That was funny, but it was like, yo, also awkward. Like, what are you doing? Why would you say that? If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, at the end of the press conference, Jerry Jones says drafting is not our problem. Coaching is. Look, I get it. He's joking. Kinda. Because drafting is not the problem. Like we understand that. Coaching has been the problem, yes, as well. But Jerry, who's hiring them coaches? Who's not giving them the ultimate power? Who's cutting them off before they even step foot in the Star? All right with the jokes, Jerry. And he continued throughout that press conference with weird stories and just like Jerry Jones. would take a turn mid-conversation that left everybody with this weird blank pause like, okay. Stephen Jones, next question. Because it's like, Jerry, what are you talking about? They gotta stop putting this microphone in front of this man. They got to. Anyway, a couple notes from the presser, and I'll come back here, talk to you guys about these notes. But before I get to them, do y'all feel me? Did anybody watch the press conference? Did y'all feel the same awkwardness? Swain said, bro, Jerry old. Jerry about 99 years old at these press conferences, and he's telling all these World War II stories. Not really. He's really telling stories about when he played in Arkansas. Out of left field. I mean, look, if you're in the I just want to be around Jerry and this is cool type of mode, like, yeah, this is awesome, man. Talking to Jerry Jones. He's telling me these stories. This is great. But if you got a job to do, if you're trying to gain something from this press conference, a lot of what he had to say yesterday was just like, what are we doing? That's why Newey and a couple other people was like, hey, this one's for Steven and Mike. Hey, Mike, hey, Steven, nobody asking Jerry Jones these questions. Jerry would butt in. He'd butt in. Anyway, a couple of these notes. Let me see here. Stephen Jones, he mentioned the first round grades. So he talked about how there was about 15 to 18 first round grades. That's about the number we talked about yesterday on the show. And it's usually somewhere around that range. So unless somebody falls to the Cowboys at 26 in their first round graded range, they're probably taking a second round graded guy. He also talked about the second contracts. Thought that was interesting. He talked about how the second contract is not really a high priority for a running back the later you get into the draft. In fact, I'll quote it. He said, quote, I think you have to pay attention to the history of running back and what happens. Once you move down the line, it's not as necessary that you have to get that second contract. If there's a good running back sitting there, I can't imagine he's not going to get a lot of attention from us. But what he could do, if the right guy was there, we'd certainly look at it. And of course, we're talking about Bijon Robinson. And Jerry also went on to talk about, it's kind of weird because if you just take the quote, it sounds like it's completely different. So in the quote, he talks about how he admits taking Ezekiel Elliott wasn't the right move, but he was really talking about it from a contractual standpoint. But let's be real, in general, probably not the greatest use of your draft resources. And I think the league is seeing that. Steven is seeing that as well. Another thing, Newey also asked a question about, and this was to McCarthy specifically, about Willetsko and Josh Ball. So he brought up, hey, how's things going with Willetsko and what's up with Josh Ball? Coach said that Willetsko had the surgery and he's knocking it out the park, having a good off season. But the more noteworthy nugget, if you want to call it that, was where he talked about Josh Ball being more guard, tackle, playing more inside than outside as opposed to tackle guard. So when you hear that Josh Ball is going to be getting a lot of tick at guard, it has nothing to do with the draft. It has everything to do with, hey, man, this is your last chance. This is your last chance to show us that you can be on this team. Like, this is it. Y'all know how I feel about Josh Ball. I'm pretty sure y'all feel very similar about Josh Ball. He's not worthy of a roster spot, in my opinion, unless he takes a massive jump here. I don't really see that happening. So Josh Ball going into guard is kind of his last-ditch effort to make something of himself on this team. And he's going into a position where it's not a lot of depth. So, look, there's an opportunity for you, Josh, right? Technically, right now, there's no left guard. Who's backing up, Zach Martin? Now, come draft day, the Cowboys are probably going to take a guy. But there's an opportunity for Josh Ball to make a name of himself. But I have no confidence in him that he will. But if he does, it'll be the best thing for the Cowboys. Because you don't got to waste another fourth-round pick. All right, and that's really it. I mean, he talked about the preference of drafting, 6'5" to 6'7" type of defensive lineman as well, and kind of getting back to those days in the 90s. But there really wasn't a whole lot to really take from this press conference. Steven played close to the vest. Look, I give Steven a lot of crap, y'all. I don't know, man. I've been liking his pressers or his interviews over the last month. I don't know. I kind of have. I've been liking his interviews over the last month. So I'll say that about Stephen Jones. McCarthy, I always like listening to McCarthy when he asks him football questions. He was kind of stuck in the middle of this nonsense. I wish they would put McCarthy, to the left or to the right. But I get why they do it. It's aesthetically pleasing to see the Joneses and then the head coach. But he's just sitting in there awkward as hell, just back and forth. As these guys are Steven's cool, but it's Jerry, right? And they're going back and forth, and Jerry's throwing shots at Steven, just jokingly, really throwing shots at himself. But it's just weird, man. Really, really weird. Josh, no balls, crazy. Speaking of Will, somebody said Will. I got a little bit of a congestion going on. Will McClay was brought up as well. And Jerry, that's about the only thing I listened to Jerry. The only thing is when he brought up Will McClay, and he talked about how, I don't want anybody to know about Will McClay. I want to keep Will McClay close to the vest because he's our guy. Well, Jerry, why don't you make him general manager? Nah, we got a general manager. We got a general manager. And this is the kicker. I always told y'all Will was not a general manager because he ain't, signing the checks and making those decisions. What did he say after that? When he can write the checks, he'll be general manager. That's why he'll never be general manager. He does not have say in who gets signed on this team. He just has input. Totally different. All right. We got a couple minutes till my guy Foots comes through. So what we'll do, I'll let Jake the Great come on through, holla at him right quick, and then see what y'all saying here in the chat. What's good, Jake?
What's happening, Skywalker, man? Good morning, man.
Good morning,
a while
good
since I
sir.
hit the show up. Man, I'm over here. Not too many people happy, but I am celebrating.
What you celebrating?
God, Aaron Rodgers is gone.
Yeah.
Hey, boy, he's gone, man. Listen, I don't know how everybody else feels, but this man has been a thorn in my side for years. I'm not even worried about the 49ers as much. Those Packers losses hurt 10 times more. Not for you, but for me. I was in the bar talking hella Donkey Kong stuff. I was outnumbered. It was like 90-1. I'm talking junk. Dak Prescott trying to come back. They lost. Stupid Aaron Rodgers. He done did it to me too many times. So how I feel with the depart of Aaron Rodgers, the NFC is wide open, don't you think?
Well, I think even if he was here, it was open. I didn't really view the Packers as a legitimate Super Bowl threat with Aaron Rodgers. With Aaron Rodgers gone, it takes a thorn out of our side from a personal standpoint, right? Like if the Cowboys had to go play Green Bay again in the regular season, it'd be annoying playing Aaron Rodgers because he just seems to have our number. But I never viewed them as
he definitely does.
Yeah, I never viewed them as a threat. So the NFC, is definitely open. I thought it was open last year.
Right. And I want to say thank you to you guys on your draft analysis and coverage for making me out to be a flawed individual because my opinion has changed so many times thanks to you guys. I came up there and I said I didn't want a running back in the first round. Then listen to Vach and like, man, let me keep looking at Bijon Robinson. Now, I feel dumb because now I want Bijon Robinson. And I don't even feel bad about drafting the tight end, man. So out of those two, Bijon or the tight end, I know you don't want any one of them two, but if them two was on the board, out of Bijon.
You said I don't want Bijon? You ain't never hear me say that.
Yeah, did you? You ain't say you ain't want running back in the first round, Scott?
No, I did not say that. I prefer not to take a running back in round one. But Bijon Robinson, that's not the guy I would go away from. No, I would definitely take Bijon Robinson, 100%. Tight end's a different story. I don't want the tight end at all. I don't give a damn who the tight end is.
See, on that tight end, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I hear what Boss Cowboy saying with tight ends are not proven in round one. But when I look at Myers, or Mayers, however they pronounce his name, he's like an extension of the offensive line. He's just so physical. He ain't no shiny toy, but he seems like he might be a stud at tight end, though. But that's all I got. And if Gibbs is on the board, would you take him? And I'm going to let you go, Scott Walker. Appreciate you, bro.
Depends who else is on the board. It's too, that's another thing that me and Steven is just, I don't know how we agree on a lot of things. But, they were asking him similar questions yesterday, and he's like, hey, man, we pick at 26. I don't know what y'all want me to tell you, right? There's so many things that have to happen prior to pick 26. So when people say, hey, if yada, yada, yada is there, would you take him? Who else is on the board? Who else is on the board? When we were picking in the top 10, the year we got Micah Parsons, or when we were picking Ezekiel Elliott, it's so much easier to narrow it down, right? You had 5 prospects, or probably a handful of those guys are going to be there, and we could talk about it. But you're picking at 26, man, and you're likely picking a second-round graded guy. And so who is that? Who else is on the board? Gibbs is probably one of the many dudes that you'd be okay with taking at 26 in their second-round graded cluster that they'll have. But what if one of those linemen are there? What if their guy, the tight end, what if their guy is there, Mayer? So it's just who else is on the board? I want to go offensive line for sure, but I don't think they're going to. Before we talked about this yesterday, I don't think they're going to force anything. Steven talked about just letting things fall. They're going to take the best guy that's on their board in the first round. The second round, it might get a little funny, but the first round, they're going to take the best guy without a doubt. Yeah. Look, I am definitely not running back first round guy, but that doesn't mean I'm not draft Bijon. I will draft Bijon Robinson at 26 without a doubt if he's there. I don't think he'll be there. Now, that's why I don't really have this conversation much. But if he is there, he's 100% going to be the best player on the board, and they're going to take him. They're going to take him because he'll be the best player on the board. All right, I got a couple more minutes. Fush just hit me up. We'll clear the calls real quick with Professor X, and then Fush should be up there. What's good, Professor X? It's so weird calling you that still.
Hey, man, how's it going, man?
I'm good.
Yeah, the draft, man, we just need to build in the trenches. Let's get a D lineman up the middle or a big offensive lineman. We need to build in the trenches, man.
I don't really see them. I don't really see them taking a defensive lineman in round 1. The more I look at it, I don't see it.
Yeah, offensive lineman, we can do good too, we need a left guard. But I think we just need to build on the trenches, man.
Well put, Professor X. Thank you for your input.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Is this like Joe Sandberg's evil twin? Dallas Cowboys said, or Hard Hitter said, Bijon's not the answer. Gibbs. I like them both. I love draft season. Y'all love pitting one of the. I like them both. There's that. I know it's not a fun answer. I know it's not a great debate. I like them both. I think both will be great on this team. But Bijon, nice, man. I'd take Bijon at 26. If they took Gibbs at 26, I wouldn't whine and cry about it either. We're picking so far in the back half of the draft. The team is so sound. I think they fixed so many things in the offseason that if you don't get your guard, I'll stay on this. I need to get me a plug and play guard in those top 3 rounds though. But if you don't get your guard in round 1, I can get me a guard in round 2. You don't get your linebacker early, I can get my linebacker in round 3. Like they don't need a whole lot. So in round 1, I agree with this. Take the best dude on your board. And if that happens to be Bijon, if that happens to be Gibbs, look, if it happens for them to be Mayer, I'm not going to sit here and snap out. I'm just not. It'll have to be something so far left that'll leave my head scratching, like the Taco Charlton situation. But it's really hard to look at them doing something so far left that doesn't make sense for them for what they're doing. Because I can make sense of picking the tight end. I don't want to do it, but I can make sense of it if they don't view the guys that they have as those dudes. We have a couple super chats rolling in here, and I'm waiting for Fuss to come through. So let's get the smoke one for you. Appreciate you, Smoke.
Super chat.
Said morning, Sky. Y'all my favorite content creator. Salute. UJ Tuck, Law, Boss, Vach, Big Game, the whole crew. Where you go? If we get a tight end first, I'm pulling my last hairs out. Running back, wide receiver, O-line, D-line. Man, so many options. Let's go somewhere else. I won't pull my hair out. I want to go somewhere else too, Smoke. But if they take the tight, and I think it's going to be Mayer. I don't really see him doing anything else. If they take Mayer, the way to justify it for you, bro, they're taking the most complete and best, in my opinion, most well-rounded tight end in the draft, right? Like, you're getting a plug and play guy. So at least they're getting that. Now what's the plan? I will preserve my annoyedness until I hear what is the plan. Is your plan to use him like Schultz, where he's just kind of the fourth option? Now, Schultz was like the second or third option last year due to the way the offense was. But if your plan is now he's a feature and you're going to expand the tight end tree or whatnot, all right, man. But if you're just going to bring him in here as a first round pick and he's just going to be an afterthought, then I'll be pissed off. I'll tell you that. I'll be pissed off. But let's go ahead, turn the page, hit the phone lines, get to my guy, Foots the King, to break down our top 5 deepest positions in the draft. What's good, bro?
And Sky, you know this is our Christmas week. Well, definitely mine. So I'm coming in hot. I'm ready to go. Like, it's a lot of speculation. Obviously, we had the press conference yesterday, but I got a few thoughts on what I see could happen. So I'm ready, man. I
saw on Twitter you said, you don't believe it'll be tight end. You don't believe it'll be tight end. You think it's smokescreen.
I think it's a smoke screen for a few reasons. Mike McCarthy hasn't drafted a tight end in the first round, like just ever.
He actually brought that up yesterday.
Yeah, and he brought that up. And, I mean, I don't want to get into this. Well, Dane and then mocked Tyler Smith up last year. Yeah, they did it. They may have a few mocks, but they also mocked other players and, Dane and Mel Kiper, and that's great, right? Yeah. But then we also have to remember that actually came out day of the draft that he was going to be the pick. The truth of the matter is Mayer could go earlier, right? He could go earlier. Minnesota's a landing spot. A couple other places are landing spots. The Giants are a landing spot. And I just don't, like, from what I'm hearing and what I'm now getting a better gauge of, because I actually talked to Dane about a few players who I think that'll be on the board. I think that Dallas will be criminal to pass on a few players. I'm really hearing that Zay Flowers will be there, Scott, and you don't pass on Zay Flowers for one of these tight ends. Even though I'm not, like, I know you are leading the Zay Flowers train, and you have been, and I love Zay Flowers, but, like, I'm not as high as you, but I'll say this, he'll be a better player year one than Mayer, just because he's more explosive. He helps you more. You'll notice what he can do more. A tight end in no way, shape, or form, because you're just getting an upgrade of Ferguson. Now, I like Mayers a lot. This is not a knock on the player. But like you just said.
The fit. It's the fit with the team.
Yeah, because I hate coming off like I'm knocking a player because I'm not. But it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I can make sense of it, but I don't want to. Because the way for me to make sense of it is they don't believe in Jake, and I do. So maybe it's a bit of my biases. I talk about that a lot because what Will McClay said. But I love how you said, it's the upgrade to Jake. He's definitely more accomplished than Jake coming in. But I feel like Jake can do all those things. I just truly, truly do. And you don't really need to take one in round one. And if they do, then he better be featured. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because the roster, this is what I've told people. In a good draft, you want to get between 3 or 2 starters if your roster isn't great. The truth of the matter is the Cowboys roster, outside of really 1 or 2 positions, is pretty locked in, Scott.
Yeah.
Like left guard,
and
okay.
You're right. And that's why I think Mayer could be their selection if he's there. The key word is if he's there. Because I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that Mayer is probably one of their first round graded guys. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the case, right? So if they are true to their board, I don't think they're going to go away from him. But I'm with you in the sense of I don't even think he'll be there. If you're the number 1 rated tight end to most of the league, 9 times out of 10, you're likely going to go before 26. There's teams in front. The Lions just, gave away T.J. Hockenson. They need a tight end. The Packers, they need. There's other teams up there that could draft a tight end prior to Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this team, I think that Hendershot. Listen, Kelsey mentioned Ferguson by name. Yeah, he mentioned Ferguson by name. I think that Ferguson, you're doing yourself a disjustice. You're just erasing a pick from last year because he showed you. Now the production, because Schultz was eating up all the production.
Yeah, Schultz was there. Yeah.
So he's not going to have the. Yeah, he's not going to have the numbers. But I'll tell you this, and I mean this. And I don't know if you were going to talk about this, but I really think that Jameer Green is going to play. And I know we're going to talk about the position group, right?
Yeah.
But
let's save the running back. But I did see your tweet.
You want to save it? Let's save it. Let's save it. Let's save it
part
when
of
we
the
get
top
there.
5.
We'll save it till when we get there.
Yeah,
we'll save it.
I saw your tweet. Trying to talk it into existence there. You brought up Zay Flowers which is the receiver position. I agree in the sense of I would definitely take Zay Flowers before I take any of these tight ends. I just believe Zay Flowers, to me, he's my favorite wide receiver in this draft. I think he can come in day one. But from a total standpoint, the wide receiver class, not all that great. That's why you have it ranked as your number 5 deepest position. So essentially the least deep of our top 5 here.
Yeah. I have the wide receiver position ranked 5 for a few reasons. I think that, everybody loves, Mims and Mingo has been flying up boards and people are talking them up and, guys like Tyler Scott, Josh Downs, the whole 9. But when you look at the top 5, Skywalker still, you don't see a headline. Jackson Smith and Jigba may be your best receiver, and he's a slot only. He's a slot exclusive, especially year 1, 2 in the league, right? You don't see a Jamar Chase in this draft. And then as the draft stretches, you just see a lot of small receivers, Sky. I just can't remember a year. Yeah. Dell is small.
Zay.
Addison
is technically, small. He's not short, but he's slim.
He's 174 pounds.
Yeah.
That's, I got kids on my youth football team bigger than that. So I think the point is, and that's not a knock because Addison can play, but I think the point is I just don't see the depth. There's not really many, I said this receiver class has a bunch of 2s in it. I don't know if I see a lot of 1s. It's weird because, Cedric Tillman might come out of this class as your true X in this class. Everybody else, they're more like Devontae Smith, Batman. Robbins. I don't really see many Batman in this class.
And I think that's why you see collectively, 2 to 3 maybe first round receivers going to some of these mocks, and that's pretty low probably based on the last decade where we've seen some 5, 6, 7 guys go in the first round and maybe 3 to 5 in the top 20 picks. So I think the rest of the draft world agrees here.
Now watch this, guy. Your boy, Zay Flowers. Could Zay be the perfect Robin down the line? Because you're going to pay CeeDee Lamb, and you have Cooks for 2 years, but injuries, the concussions, who knows what could happen. Could Zay be the perfect Robin to CeeDee Lamb? Because when you're drafting 26, you can get a Robin, right?
Yeah.
He could be a Robin. The separation is real. The route running is real. What do we struggle with? That's why Mayer scares me because it's this is a 3-team race in the NFC right now, especially with Rodgers leaving the NFC. Philly, Dallas, San Francisco, as it stands today. Yeah. 3-team race, right? Roster-wise, to me. Dallas struggled with separation against San Francisco, and so another guy to come in and challenge some of those DBs, those corners, Brandon Ayuk, that's who he reminds me of, Brandon Ayuk. A high level 2, But Dallas may have that luxury to draft that. So I think that kind of plays into your argument a lot, Sky. But like a one, yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking for long-term Robin type stuff, I think Zay and CD could be a fantastic duo together. On the short term, it'll be fascinating to see how they were able to incorporate him. That's why receiver in round one, whether it be Zay or whoever, because I love Zay, but receiver in round one is going to be a bit tricky early on because you may need to use patience here. He may not be a guy that you're incorporating a whole lot because you got Gallup, you got Cooks, and you got CD Lamb. But if you draft a Zay, you got to find a way to get him involved. I don't care how you do it. This can't be a Turpin situation where you just got an explosive guy and you're not even using him at all on offense.
Oh, he's your round one pick. You better have a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. He better be on the field. And I think he will. I think if Dallas drafts Zay, let's say Addison, I think he will. Let me ask you this, guy, before we move forward to the rest of the position groups. I want to pick your brain. Does Dallas get a starter in the first round?
Yeah, I think they do, but it'll have to come. It'll probably be either tight end. I know we hate this, but it'll probably be tight end or offensive line. That's it. I don't really see any other positions where they're going to draft a starter year one. But if it ain't those two positions, then I'll say no.
Okay. Yep. I just
right?
wanted your thoughts on that. I think it sounds right, Scott. I think that I don't know if people understand just how good this roster really is and what they did in free agency. That if you look at you may have to use the word starter subjectively, but if you look at that and say, oh, he's going to come in and take him by position, he may not, but he could be a really good contributor at pick 26.
Well, yeah. If you use the word starter, there's only a couple. But if you use the word contributor, that changes things drastically because you can take any of these positions and these guys can be contributors for sure.
Right. Okay.
So your fourth ranked deepest position here, and this is interesting because I didn't know if you were going to go with the interior O-line as worst or second worst. You have it as the second worst in the draft here. Interior O-line. We'll give you reasoning.
So really top heavy, right? Then it kind of drops off in the second and third round. Mm-hmm. And then, but like top heavy, right? Like you have guys like like me and you, we've been having these conversations around. We're keeping a record of everything. We're not as high on Steve Avila as everybody else. That's just me. Now, like we said, like I don't know if he would come in and be acclimated to the NFL game as well as like Tyler Smith would. Maybe I could possibly bring myself to like it, but I just I'm just not sure.
Oh, it sounds like you're souring on Avila the longer the process goes out. See, I was a little disappointed in the hype. And, when I went and watched them and studied them, I was like, why is everybody? But I'm not so disappointed in the hype that I wouldn't be happy to take him in the second, right? Or in general, I would be fine taking Steve Avila. And I do think he'd come in and start. But it sounds like you got some real concerns. You said the word you said was, get acclimated to the NFL game.
The problem is he struggles with quickness, right? And so you think about the D tackles you got to play. Like, is he ready to block Deron Payne? Like, is he ready to block, Jonathan Allen? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, hey, week one in Washington, you ready for this? I mean, you haven't seen nothing like this at playing in TCU. Maybe Georgia game, and he had some decent reps in Georgia game. But my point is, like, I'll be honest with you, the profile, I kind of like Zavala a little better. I love Mock better. I think that Mock is just built better. I think he has much better feet. But yeah, I just like I said, not to sour, not to knock him.
Have soured on Avila. It sounds like you got him. You got him what, late 2, 3?
I think I ended up souring on him only because I didn't like him in the first round. and he was being mocked to us in the first round. I was like, I think Osiris Torrance is a better player. He deals with strength a lot better, and I could clean the feet up. But that's just me.
Gotcha. Who else in this? I see here on our graphic we got John Michael Schmitz. Where do you got him ranked? You got him higher than Villa and those guys, Torrance?
Oh yeah, Smith is my interior lineman. Smith is my one. Interior lineman, yeah. And then it's Torrance, and then it's who do I have? I had Voorhees. I had Voorhees higher than even Malk, but then he ended up getting hurt. And then so it would be probably Malk there, Mock. And then Tavalla's really grown on me. I know that Bradford is a nice player, LSU. He's one of those guys that if you hit on him like in the fourth, I think he could come in and challenge. So and then like Sal isn't a bad player. So I mean like and then Mafi, but like let's be real, Mafi is like you would draft him in the 5th round.
I said the ceiling for me where you take him was 4, and that's if you're like getting wiped out. And a lot of people would go earlier. I'm look 4 or 5. I'm fine, but other than that, who else is on the board? I tell you this, I would peel Voorhees before a lot of these dudes.
Yeah,
like, I'd peel him. I'm talking about in the third. In the third, I'd do it.
Ooh.
Yep.
Even with the injury?
Even with the injury. I'd take the chance. I think, I liked his tape probably more than all but maybe Schmitz. 1 or 2 guys. I like Schmitz because of his flex, right? He can go center, he can go left guard, right? I like his flex. You like Malk more than I do. I actually have a Villa over him. But Voorhees tape, dog, it's just so damn good. I feel like he could, if he did not get hurt, he'd be a plug and play for Dallas.
Remember we talked about him early. Remember we talked about him before the Singing Bowl and he got hurt.
Yeah, I didn't watch him at that time. I didn't watch him at that time. I didn't even watch him when he got hurt the combine. You know, it wasn't until I start getting into the tape and things of the interior line, and I'm like, man, I'm peeling this dude. It started off with the 5th. I said, I'll take him in the 5th. And then it went up to the 4th. And now I'm like, look, I've seen doomsday situations. Man, give me this guy in the 3rd.
He's rarely, his body positioning and the ability to stay square, like he's rarely lunging. That was the problem that I had with Avia. Like, once Avia is beat, he's beat. Like, Voorhees really has a good ability to recover. He's always square. He's almost like, he's a bigger version of Smith and maybe not quite as technical. And I think that Smith moves a little better. Like, if you want to run outside zone, I've never seen a center, the way he blocks outside zone, Smith is just incredible. Like, he's always on that outside shoulder, the D tackle, the 3-tech. Like, he climbs well. He gets next level well. It's just like, it's teaching tape with Smith.
I think Schmitz could be your Frederick. He could be your Frederick on this team.
Yeah.
Frederick was so elite at that. Second level stuff. Oh my goodness.
It was amazing what Frederick was able to do. Yeah.
Your 3rd ranked position group here. Here's where things get fun. Defensive back. We didn't talk a lot about DBs. We didn't do the cornerback on the clock series this year or safety, because safety we feel pretty good about. Cornerback room is kind of thick, right? But I think there's this outside chance if there's a guy sitting there at 26 or 58, Dallas could have a conversation in that room. So we never really got a chance to talk DBs. So kind of just give us your general thoughts on this class.
I think the beauty about this class is it studs early. And I'm talking about plug and play guys. But everybody's all over the place on them. Like, you'll talk to some people who have Joey Porter as their first-ranked corner. You'll talk to some people who have Joey Porter falling out the first round. I don't see that. I don't see him getting past Pittsburgh. But there are people who he's not for everybody's scheme. You got to think. He is a man-to-man corner. Like, that's who Joey Porter Jr. is. He is going to put his hands on you, use his length, and play football. Like, and he's really getting drafted off of his film versus I can't say that. I can't say he's getting drafted off his film versus Marvin Harrison Jr. But, like, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a top 5 player next year's draft. And he did a great job on him. But there's also times where you see him struggle with quickness, And that's why the zone stuff, the off-man stuff, that's just not his bag. So DV is interesting. Where did people have Witherspoon? The combine he didn't do anything at the combine. The 40 was good, but the athletic testing wasn't. To me, Gonzalez is the one. But then you even have guys like Turner, DJ Turner from Michigan, that could go anywhere from the second to the fourth. Like you have a bunch of nickel players who are really good. It seems like everybody on that Illinois defense is going to get drafted. So I just think that it's a really it's where it should be for me ranking wise. It's a really deep positional group.
The kid Julius Brent is starting to have this late surge, around the Twitter sphere.
K-State corner.
Yeah. Julius Brent's having a late surge here. Is this a guy on your radar for Dallas?
Nope, because of the height. I mean, nickel, more or less, but I don't think that. I'm gonna tell you who's on my radar, and it just really depends. Is Darius Rush? It really depends on how they graded him. I think that Rush is one of those guys that, depending on what you want to do with Bland, I think he could come in and sit under what's his name for a year. He could sit under Gilmore for a year, learn the position, and truly be an outside guy. And then Bland could just work in nickel, depending on what happens with Jordan Lewis and guys like that. So Rush is really good, guy. Like I know people love Cam Smith, but like Rush is one of those ones for me.
Two names for me. When I went and watched Forbes tape, I try not to fall in love with guys, and I understand he's an undersized guy, but you can't deny the ball skills. You just cannot deny it, man. I feel like if Forbes is on the board in round 2, I consider it. I don't think he'll be there at 58. I don't think they'll do it at 26, but I do like him. And the dude that they did bring in, I think we talked about this during the Senior Bowl situation, Tyreek Stevenson. Was very sticky down there at the Senior Bowl, physical cornerback out of Miami. I want to say Dallas showed interest in Stevenson, but where would you have him kind of in this cluster?
And you know what? I want to check something really, really quick. I had the wrong measurables on Brett. Brett actually does have good size. I'm thinking about the running back in K-State. That's how all these.
No.
Yeah,
Not the little mighty Mike.
Yeah.
Brent's like 6'3".
Yeah, I was about to say, Brett actually has the size, so I want to check that really, really quick. But no, Stevenson. So Stevenson
Miami
is
cornerback.
Scheme specific.
Okay.
Who's coaching him? You know what I mean? Miami kind of in flux, didn't really have a plan, and his tape showed that. Like, he played like that. And as far as Forbes, listen, Forbes has some of the cleanest film, but his size, and it's not the height, is literally he's a feather. But he doesn't play like it. And that's what bothers me about Dallas, that if he's showing you on film that he doesn't play small, then maybe you do need to take a flyer on this guy because he has the heart. Like, he sticks his nose in there on tackles. You see what I'm saying to you? Like, and he, like, really wants to be physical at that height, at that weight. I just don't know. And, like, I'll say this, right? At corner, I feel like you could be a little more physical and a smaller player because you're not taking as much punishment. At running back, I don't think that you can. So I don't know if Dallas would, but I sure as hell would love this guy because he can flat out do it. And the ball skills, he just got a knack for it. And we want to talk about taking the ball away, locking down the side. And we got to remember, Washington has a good receiving core. Philly has a good receiving core. So, like, I'm definitely not mad at that play at all. But I just don't know if the Cowboys will, because Will has they can say whatever they want. They want to look like a basketball team in the back end. They look like a basketball team in the back end, Sky.
Well, I think the NFL in general doesn't want tiny corners, but I think Will and Dan Quinn really covet arm length, right? They want you, and I think this started back when it started with Will, but it really was emphasized when Chris Richard got here. That's why you see certain players like J. Lou and AB still stick around because they got longer arms. So if you got the arm length, I think they can settle on the height. You can't be no 5'8" or nothing, but they can settle on the height a little bit. But I wonder where does their weight kind of cut off? Because the Forbes and the Turner, these guys are smaller. So I wonder where their weight cuts off. Something I want to ask them. Something double Aisha, two Aisha in the building. What up? Can ask Will McClay.
That's a good. That's something that's a great question. Because it's just interesting. Like this draft, you just see a lot smaller skill players, just in general. We just talked about the receivers. Now the DBs, like a couple DBs, they just I don't. It could be a training. It could be all of that type of stuff. Just smaller players.
Well, I tell you what, where ain't no small players. That's his tight end group, man. You got the tight end group as your second ranked deepest position in the draft, and that feels about right. We talked about how deep this tight end position is. You can find guys, quality guys, in the top probably 120 picks, and I think Dallas is looking. Where is a different discussion, but they're definitely looking. So your kind of overall thoughts here on the tight end group?
I mean, I'll say this: there's a guy, right? And I mean this. Wiley could end up coming in and being Josh Wiley from Cincinnati.
Yeah, I like Wiley. Look, everybody want Kincaid, bro. In round one, I got Kincaid later. His name is Wiley.
Dude, he could Cincinnati. Who else went to Cincinnati? I'm just saying. Not saying he's Kelsey, but he has that vibe. He could be the best player in this class. Ooh. Like that's just how it goes. I mean, not saying you get what I'm saying, Scott. Like the if you're projecting. And if you have the OC, to me, tight end play is about who's calling the play. It's just that simple. Are they going to use these guys as a weapon down the middle of the field? Are they going to play them in line, use them in play action? Are they going to spread them out wide and use them as a mismatch? Who's the OC? Laporta could be that guy. A Schoonmaker is a really good blocker. Me and Boss were talking about this when we jumped on and did.
Oh, I like Schumacher.
The mock draft. Yeah, I mean he is a punishing blocker. Like, and actually that whole Michigan line was really good. Musgrave could easily be better than Kincaid, Darnell Washington, and Mayer. Just because, quarterback play at Oregon State was okay. Their team was okay. But if he goes to the right team who has a plan, who has the OC, who can get him involved, like somewhere like Jacksonville, because they really use Evan Ingram more like a receiver, they want to use him more like an inline player, and you have Doug Peterson calling plays, sign me up. You see what I'm saying?
No, I'm with you.
This is crazy.
I'm with you step in step when it comes to tight ends. It truly is about usage for the most part. You can be extremely talented, have massive physical gifts, but if your team is not using you correctly, you could be undervalued on said team. So that's why I say how, and speaking of Dallas, how are you using said tight end? And then if you're going to get that guy early, if it's just going to be used like you've been using him, maybe that's not the greatest value. And with how deep this class is, I don't think you need to reach here at tight end. Now, if they do, though, Foots, the two names that I think the Cowboys have their eye on are Darnell Washington and Mayer because they offer that blocking flexibility.
Yeah, and, it's just so interesting, the tight end position. To me, if you had to tell me who's on the board, I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to talk your head off, Scott. Yeah. You would just have to tell me who's on the board. You have to tell me who's on the board because I can't trade away from Drew Sanders for Washington. I can't pick Washington over Zay Flowers. I just can't. I can't pick him over, for me, Gibbs. I can't do it.
Nah, yeah, the class is just too deep, man. For me, look, there's only one name that realistically I think they'll take, and it's Mayer. I think they have him as a first round graded guy, and if we're being honest, you even said it. He's the best overall tight end, like from a pass catching, run blocking kind of combo tight end, well rounded guy. That's your guy. He is the most well rounded, and he can step in day one and be a solid starter. There's no doubt about it. But am I passing on this player or that player, this position for him? No, I am not. I just got this strange feeling they will if he's there, and that's that. I mean, not they will pass on him. I got a strange feeling they'll take him if he's there.
And you know what, Scott? We're going to sit up there with our suits on, and we're going to talk about it.
You know what? You saved me last year from my emotional original, kind of I don't say take because it wasn't the take, reaction to the Tyler Smith. Because, there were so many guys on the board that I liked. And when they took Tyler, my jaw dropped, and I'm like, Foots, take it away. Let me breathe for a second here. So you went in with your explanation on Tyler, then boom, I was like, all right, Tyler Smith, potentially be the Ron Leary, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, man, that initial reaction, if they take the tight end, I ain't going to lie to you. I ain't going to fake the funk. It'll be disappointment. Disappointment, but then we'll break it down and figure out how does this work.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of us. I mean, we've been doing it so long that we'll just, what we'll do, we'll see it through. That'll be the plan. Yeah, we'll see it through. We'll see it through for sure.
We'll see it through. Number 1 on your list is the obvious one here, man. Running back. The running back room is loaded. Running back class, I should say, is loaded. I mean, similar sentiment here. If you don't take a running back early, you can find one in the mid rounds that can come in here and have a real good role for you, similar to the tight end situation. But your running back room, man, I don't want to say you're being controversial because the league apparently has a high value on Gibbs as well, but you are definitely trying to hammer home Jahmyr Gibbs to the Cowboys.
Hey, Sky, you know what you got to do, right? You gotta go back to our talk when I had Gibbs over Bijon. Remember that, Sky? And people were like, "You're crazy, Foot." Isn't that crazy? That's why I love these shows because it timestamps everything. I had him over there, and now you're getting reports that there are a lot of teams. You're getting a lot of reports that a lot of teams have Gibbs higher than Bijon. And I think so. This class is really deep, right? It is, but the quality of player. So people tell me this is people's argument, right, Sky? And it's very lazy. Their argument is, well, he plays like Pollard. And I'm saying to myself, is that a bad thing? Because you couldn't move the ball when Pollard got hurt against San Francisco. You just couldn't move the ball. And some of that's the offensive coordinator. Some of that was the receivers on the outside. But if you tell me you want to keep Pollard at 17 touches, 15 touches, whatever the case may be, if you have a player with just as much juice who can now take a swing 60, who can now take a pitch 30, 40, who can now run that Texas route, you get him matched up on a backer who can't cover, and he could take it 50. What are we talking about, Scott? I'm confused. I think the days of you have to have a banger are over. Dog, give me good football players. Give me good football players, Scott. And the rest will work itself out. If you're searching for a banger, you might be searching for, I don't know, Bro Scarborough, whoever. I mean, and you're reaching. Then you're reaching, Scott. I think that's bad drafting to me. You can't tell me that you're looking at these other players and you see 26 better players than Jahmyr Gibbs. You can't tell me.
I'm with you there. From a pure talent standpoint, the only way Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijon, Bijon's going to probably go round 1, are not talked in the conversation of first round picks is because of the value. Obviously you can't ignore that completely. The running back value. But from a pure talent standpoint, Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the most talented players in the draft.
Dude, look at him catching the ball down the field. Like, I get it, right? Yeah. Some backs can catch swings. But, like, his hip fluidity, I don't know. I'm just indifferent. Scott, that's me. When you're in the SEC and you're literally more than half of the team's production against SEC defenses. I could have went to the low-hanging fruit, the thread I posted on Twitter. It was the LSU game because that defense was biting, and he just kept getting up. And they ended up losing that game, but they had no receiver help. Offensive line play was bad. Alabama was just down last year. And obviously Price is going to be drafted 1, but the truth of the matter is that offense was Jahmyr Gibbs.
I tell you this, if something happened to Tony Pollard and Jahmyr Gibbs on your team, you got nothing to worry about. You lose absolutely nothing from your playbook. When Tony Pollard went down against San Fran, you lost so much from your playbook because Zeke wasn't like that.
What are we talking about, Scott? Like, yeah, your playbook was literally cut in half. And so I'm just not going to pass on a generational talent to me that if he's 215, he's a top 10 player, but because of 10-6, between 10 to 5, 10 pounds, now we're going to – that's just me. You see what I'm saying? But it does take the OC, kind of like the tight end position, to put him in position. You can get both of these guys on the field. You can play with some personnel packages. But I think that you can do that with this guy. I really believe that you could do that with this player, Scott.
Oh, man. We're just having some fun here, but Jahmyr Gibbs and Tony Pollard on the field together is a nightmare scenario for NFL defensive coordinators, for sure. Let me ask you this, though.
Yeah.
Y'all did real quick before I get you out of here. Fantastic stuff as always, bro. Foots the King here, our NFL draft analyst, reviewing the top 5 deepest positions in the draft. Y'all did a mock draft, you and Vach yesterday. Oh, was it yesterday? 2 days ago? I think it was 2 days ago. Y'all did a mock draft. I'm going to bring up this mock draft. We'll review it real quick before we move forward. Was Gibbs on the board? I was listening, but I can't remember if Gibbs was there.
Gibbs was on the board, and
Vach talked your ass into
and then I fought him for my next pick. Me and him had a fist fight for my next pick.
So here go the mock draft, because I looked at it, I'm like, I know Vach was in his ear, dog. I just know it, because the way you talking up Jahmyr Gibbs, if this was your mock draft, you was taking Jahmyr Gibbs, wasn't you?
I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs.
I know you was taking.
But no, I got mock, and then we pulled it together. We rounded everything out with Jonathan Mingo, who will end up being your Brandon Cooks replacement.
For those who are listening and can't see, this was Vach and Foots' mock draft from the other night. Pick 26, Will McDonald. Pick 58, Cody Mount. Pick 90, Jonathan Mingo. Pick 129, Kenny McIntosh, which I want to talk about him in a quick second. 176, linebacker Dorian Williams from Tulane. Let's kind of just briefly go down here. The first 2 picks, you got, defensive line help here in Will McDonald and Cody Mount. I would be very happy with those 2 picks for sure.
Oh yeah, so the beautiful thing about I just talk about Will McDonald, and shout out to Vosh with a great interview, and you for producing, Scott. The work y'all do, bro, is just second to none. With Will McDonald, I just think that now with Will McDonald, now you don't lose any juice in the middle of the season with your pass rush. If for God forbid anything happened to Micah, he missed a game or 2, whatever, because he's been very healthy. But, little knickknacks. You still have juice. You got to start planning for the future without DeMarcus Lawrence. So I got that part. And I think that right now that this defense is a little bit ahead of this offense. That's me. So why not make the defense better? And that's me.
Let me say something about McDonald if you ain't watched Vach's interview. What makes interviews like that so great, like listening to guys, is in this draft process as fans. We all believe we were talent evaluators, we're this, we're that. What we can't see is the player's heart. What we can't see is the player's intelligence. What we can't see is the want to and things like that. Go listen to the interview. Will McDonald is a very intelligent player, and I think he's going to pick up the game really fast. And if he gets in here with Dan Quinn, with the toolbox he already has, Will McDonald's going to be a fantastic player for the Cowboys. So go check out that interview if you get a chance over on the volume.
Yeah, dude, I think it was a great interview. You hear him talking about team, you hear him talking about I play wherever. And he played that 4-hour really good.
Yeah.
But, you want him. I love his – he said something that I really stuck with me. He has a plan to rush with space or in tight quarters. Man, this brother know football.
He know
now
football.
Now we drafting players who know the game, man.
It was just watch the damn interview. It was set up so perfectly. Shout out to my bro Vach. It was set up so perfectly to get that type of answer out of him, and you're really not getting that. You don't know that unless you listen to an interview like that. So check it out. Then Cody Mount and then Jonathan Mingo. I love Jonathan Mingo at 90. That's perfect, man.
Great value.
Yeah. Kenny McIntosh. Go ahead. You want to talk about Mingo?
No. I've done Mingo, but I was doing Mingo when I was doing Zach.
Right. So I want to talk about Kenny McIntosh, man, because you were just talking about Gibbs earlier in a sense, and you were talking about how If you want a banger, you can get a banger later. That's kind of how I view Kenny McIntosh, like a banger. I'm not looking at him to be a breakaway guy, to be a make you miss type of guy. Does the 4.6 bother you? Like, what? I know Voch loves Kenny McIntosh. What do you like about Kenny, and what maybe concerns you?
The 4.6 doesn't bother me because of what you just said. Smooth player, physical runner, right? You can't play at Georgia and not be a physical player. So very physical player, but the hands are really soft too. Like that's 43 receptions. That's not bad, right, Sky? Yeah. So I think that if you did want to go that, let me get somebody to offset Pollard by. Now he's not as explosive as Pollard, so you gotta understand that part. He's a power guy though. But he can do kind of still some of the same things as a pass catcher. Really reminds me like a poor man's Bijon Robinson that Washington picked up last year. So, I think in the fourth round it'd be good value.
I think this is a well-rounded draft, and if Dallas did this exact draft, they nailed it. They hit it out the park.
Man, I'm bound right now, Scott. You just can't see me. Thank you.
All right, man.
Scott. Let me say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me say this because we're at the end of the road, and obviously we got a big day on Thursday.
Yes.
I think, and this is just me personally, I do think that Dallas wants to get a playmaker. I know the tight end stuff has been out there, but I think that Dallas wants to leave nothing to chance as far as this offense because they know how good this defense is. But I think I'm just leaving it at that. That's my final thought on this Cowboys draft. I think in the first round, Jerry wants to get a playmaker. Whatever that looks like, I think that the Dallas Cowboys want to get a playmaker. And so I think the defense is off the table in the first round. I think they want to get a playmaker, Scott.
All depends who's there. That's all I can say. Who is there? Because I'm going to tell you who's not going to just lay down. Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, if I'm serious, man. If Dan Quinn is enamored with Will McDonald, he's going to stand on that table. And I think he's got juice, Foots. I think he's got more juice than Rod. I think he's got juice with McCarthy, right? Like I don't think Rod and Jason. I don't think they had a great relationship. I don't know their relationship, but I don't think it was like this. You often hear McCarthy thanking the heavens for Dan Quinn. The Joneses love Dan Quinn. They paying him like a head coach. In fact, he said we got 2 head coaches. So if Dan Quinn get up there and say, hey, look, man, I know y'all like this Mayer kid, this Kincaid kid, this Washington kid, this Zay kid, but let me get my hands on Will McDonald. Why the best defense? Like he'll try to talk it through. I could see Jerry being persuaded. I can.
And guess what? I would sleep like a baby knowing that the Cowboys are gonna, find their way through the rest of this draft. That's what they do. So if you drafted Will McDonald, I know that they would have a plan for the rest of this draft. I believe that.
Yeah. Put it this way. They have earned our trust. I think they'll follow their board. They've hit 9 of the last 10 draft picks in the first round. Dog, nobody can say that in the league, I don't think. So there's going to be guys we want personally, but like I always say, man, go ahead, express yourself, let the emotions run through initially, but then also remember, they seem to know what they're doing in the first round. That's all.
That's all.
My guy, Foots the King, man. Make sure y'all tune in to everything he does. If y'all missed the mock draft with him and Voch, go on their page. It's there. Also, check all 3 of us out on Thursday. It'll be kind of a quasi we'll be everywhere. We'll be on Voch's channel. We'll be here covering the draft from round 1. And, man, I'm excited, brother. I can't wait.
Man, Sky, I'm excited. This journey's been great. And what people got to understand is it's not over because recap, I'm pretty sure Sky will do a recap show next week just to kind of touch on everything, and we'll start going our separate ways and then come back around training camp and mini camp and all that type of stuff. But remember, guys, recap, plan, press conferences. This is my last thing, and I'll say it again. Don't fly off the handle when you hear the pick. If it's not, your cousin or your auntie that's picked, just relax. Let's make sense of it. Thank you for having me, Scott.
My God, appreciate you, man. That's Foot's the King, y'all. I didn't mean to do that combination right there, but it worked out. All right, we're going to take a quick little coffee, water, whatever break. Talk about our friends over at Boston Scientific. In the U.S., more than 39 million men suffer from ED, and it can affect your self-esteem and impact your most important relationships. So if you've tried the pills, if you've tried every other potential solution and it hasn't worked out, got something for you. Take the free online assessment that you can share with your doctors. Click the ad in our description. There is a permanent, satisfying solution to treat ED, and it's edcure.org. Sponsored by Boston Scientific. It ain't hard, but you can be.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions.
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. We'll do it live.
Absolutely fantastic stuff with Foots this draft season. For those that might have been around a couple years ago, I started the On the Clock series, I want to say in 2020. And Foots was the first person I did it with. And then we had a couple other guys come on. And last year, it was mostly Foots. And then this year, it's just grown. And it's a thing now. It's a thing. And I think it's pretty damn dope. I always say I usually don't really start getting into the lab until we start talking Senior Bowl with Foots. And I appreciate that, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. We got a lot of calls. I am not going to be able to get all of them. We'll get a couple of them here as we head out and roll out. Oh, man. Let's get Mel, man. I ain't talked to my guy, Mel. You know what, Mel? You know what I forgot to do?
King Sky.
You know what I forgot to do, Mel? I forgot to get on Foot's ass about my Lakers. Our Lakers up 3-1.
Yeah.
In the playoffs right now. Yeah, I forgot to get on it while his boys are struggling with old Steph Curry over there. But it is what it is. What up, Mel?
Man, it's draft season. It's not my personal favorite season of the off season. I'm much more of a camp and free agent guy because I really like kind of knowing what we're dealing with. Because right now we're kind of talking about a lot of guys that may or may not be Cowboys.
Yeah. But
the anticipation and the fact that we're going to be adding new players to the team is an exciting thing for me.
Yeah.
I have been seeing some of the mocks. I don't get too much into it, but looking at, I'm seeing like tight end. I'm completely out on tight end in the first because I just don't see anybody coming in here catching more than 50 passes as even as a rookie.
That's pretty good, though.
I don't see
somebody get like 40,
it
45. It's pretty solid.
It is, but I think the guys that we have on the roster now could maybe even combine for that.
I think Ferguson alone could get you that, but hey, that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen this team in the Dak era without, top talent at tight end, and I really feel like Dak has been a very good guy at making some of these guys. I hate to say like, oh, well, Dak made Dalton Schultz, but, him along with Kellen kind of did make Dalton Schultz.
Hey, you ain't got to be, you can say that with your chest. Dalton Schultz was nothing. Look, Dalton Schultz is a fine tight end, right? He's a quality starter, but he's not one of the best tight ends in the league, in my opinion.
I totally agree.
Like
and I don't think you need that for this offense to hum. I have been seeing the guy Gibbs. I don't think Bijon's going to be there at 26. I just don't see that happening. The hype around him is building up more and more and more and more and more as we get closer to this thing. And he's too much of an offensive playmaker for these teams that, kind of everybody doesn't really, the Cowboys do a great job of finding gems. Everybody else doesn't really do that. So they have to take the can't miss guys.
and I don't see them passing up on Bijon, who, for all intents and purposes, seems to be a can't-miss guy. But I would love for them, man, to take Gibbs. And I'm in on running back in the first round only because it's kind of a short-term thing. Like, okay, we can bring a guy in, he's going to give us 5 years.
Well, let's not say
he'll give us his best 5 years, then we can move on.
Let's change the conversation from running back in the first round. You mean you're in on Bijon Robinson or Gibbs? Like, there's no other running back to even talk about in the first round.
Of course.
There's only Bijon and Gibbs. So when you talk about Bijon and Gibbs, I think you can justify it because those guys they have special traits. They have special qualities. But other than that's it. And you're picking at the bottom of the round. I think there is still a legitimate conversation to have, though, about the whole running back value in general. But I do think Gibbs is one of them ones. And I think Gibbs has some special traits.
Question for you, Sky. When they say the word first round grade, right? Because we see that a lot. Oh, he's a first round grade, he's second round grade, third round grade. How do you categorize? What is like? How do I translate that to on the field?
How do you translate that on the field? I don't think I follow.
So is this a guy that's going to come in and start right away? Is this a guy that's going to come in and be a Pro Bowl player? Like, what do we mean when we say like a first round grade versus a second round grade versus a third round grade? Because we have a bunch of third round starters on the team now.
Self-explanatory. I mean, they have to put their board together, right? And maybe if we use the term tier, that will help out easier. They have to put their board together. And they have 15 guys, right, who they grade as round one guys we take in the first round, no matter whatever. And then after that, there's the second round guys. Now, those second round guys are going to get taken in the first round because they have a cutoff. But I don't know what you mean by like translate to the field, because even those second round guys are going to play too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of what I mean. Like, I think sometimes we get caught up on when we take a guy versus is the guy we took, is he going to be able to come in and contribute? You know what I mean? Like, okay, just because I took a quote-unquote second-round graded guy in the first round, but he's still going to come in. I mean, I think a lot of people might have even had the guy we drafted last year in the first as we reached for him, or he was a second-round guy. But for us, he was a starter, an immediate impact player. So I'm just kind of curious as like, sometimes I think people get a little hung up on first round grade, second round grade, or
but that should be
too early.
That should be easy to decipher, right? Like if you take a guard in the first round, he gonna play. You know what I'm saying? If you take a Steve Avila, he's a second round rated guy, but he's gonna play. There shouldn't really be this thought process like, man, we took him in the first, but is he gonna get on the field? Like, of course he's gonna get on the field. I think it all depends on your team. Your needs and whatnot. For example, LVE was taken in 2018 in the first round. That's a conversation you can say, well, is he going to play? Because he's not going to start, and how much is he going to play? But depending on the team need, the position that's taken, I don't think that's really a difficult thought process to have if it's, say, guard, if it's, say, tight end, because they're going to play him, right? Now, if it's, say, receiver, that's a discussion. All right, we took a receiver in round one. Is he going to play? So it's a whole lot that kind of gets thrown in that gumbo there.
Got you. I got you. Well, man, it's a lot of callers on, man. It was a blessing to tap in with you. Hey, let's go Laker Nation. Let's go Laker Nation. Let's go Cowboy Nation on Thursday.
Appreciate you, Mel. Let's get Drummer Cam.
Yes,
Ain't heard from Drummer Cam in a minute. What's good, Drummer?
Man, it's been a minute.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Sky?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. So I don't understand this tight end talk. I really don't. Why are we looking for a tight end right now out of the draft? It just doesn't make sense to me. And maybe I'm just wrong. Like, that's fair. That's totally fair.
Could be a smoke screen.
That's what I think it is. Like, if they're going to be a tight end, like, to me, that's just, hey, we're going to get some attention, so maybe if somebody else drafts, we'll actually get land with the guy that we're going to get. I just don't.
Cam, you breaking up a bit, brother.
I get terrible reception out here. But man, can I ask a stupid question?
No questions are stupid.
I feel like this gets brought up a lot around this time, and it's one of those things where the way I look at this situation is we could use some physical wide receiver, especially if we're going to be running slants or when we run in more of this West Coast short pass game type situation.
Yeah, some possession.
What if we sign Dez for something cheap?
Okay, I take that back.
All right. I mean, fair enough. I just thought it just hit me am I being crazy? Because I just think even if he's you pay something pretty cheap, pay him veteran money, veteran minimum, and he's 10, 15 snaps a game. I don't know if that's worth it, but I don't know. But I'm just he's a physical guy. He's hungry. He wants it to be there. He's also a veteran presence in your locker room and the wide receivers, especially when you're bringing in some rookies. I don't know. I know it gets asked every year, but I'm it almost to me makes sense this year that it would be worth potentially even just giving them a call. All right, I'm wrong. That's what I'm asking. So I said it was a stupid question.
When does crack? Now, so the cocaine's happening. When does that crack come into play for you?
I don't know, man.
I gotta have fun with it, Cam. I got to. I'm not even going to waste your time with this one. Des Bryant ain't coming. There's no. Just no.
It's done.
Nah, man.
It's done.
Nah. You got your Des Bryant. And look, I'm not saying he's prime Des Bryant, but he's probably Des Bryant now on the field. And his name is Michael Gallup. You got your possession guy. Go up and get it. Physical. Do the slant things. That's your guy.
Can we expect that from Michael Gallup? I guess that's kind of my hesitation, right?
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks is great, but you already know CeeDee Lamb will make that business decision to save his body, which is concerning. We saw it multiple times last year where Dak gets this whole stupid interception controversy when Des Bryant's just not, or not. Sorry, but CeeDee Lamb's just not running that.
So that is fair.
It's just an idea,
let me help you out here. The premise of what you're saying, a physical X possession wide receiver, I'm all about adding to this team to compete with a Michael Gallup or potentially replace him if Michael Gallup it does not work out. Just the Des Bryant conversation what throws me. But it's fair to question.
Okay.
It's fair to question Gallup, right? I'm not saying that Gallup is going to return to form. I hope like hell he does, right? Because the Cowboys need
for sure
that type of presence in this current wide receiver room. One of the things I was going to talk to Foots about when we were talking about Zay Flowers, and this is why, drafting Zay, I would be ecstatic from a personal standpoint, but from a fit standpoint, I'd be a little frustrated because I think they'll frustrate me. Meaning, I don't know if they're going to use Zay and Cooks on the field at the same time because you need to have some diversity. Right, you need to have something that complements that room, and Gallup technically complements a Lamb, a Cooks perfectly. It's just we don't know what Gallup we're getting. That's the main problem. If you're getting prime Gallup, man, that wide receiver room is fit to the nines, right? But if you're not getting prime Gallup, now you're talking about small guys surrounding CeeDee Lamb, and you hope that they can hold up with some of the physicalness of they ain't that physical no more because the rules, but some of those slants that you want your possession guy to be, and I'm hoping Gallup can be that. If not, maybe they get a Mingo, maybe they get a Tillman, maybe they get Perry, one of these bigger guys to maybe Semi, right, steps up, maybe Tolbert is that guy. Who knows? Yeah,
we just don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to be Des Bryant. I guess it's just kind of the name that pops in my head, but. Maybe I should stop on my Twitter, but overall that is my concern, right?
That's what
are we going to do? Who's going to be that possession guy? Because Lamb can get separation. He runs great routes when he's knowing he's not going to get left by a safety, right? I think that's been made pretty clear last season, and that's just kind of concerning if we're going to do all these middle, slants and things like that. So run into the middle, stuff like that. So I don't know. That's all I got. I mean, I was just curious on the situation, what your thoughts were. Like I said, I knew it was a bad question. I know it comes up every year. Don't roast me for it. But
we already did that. That already happened, there, Cam. We already had fun.
Good talking, man. Hey, man, have a good one. Great show as always, and I'm always watching in the background. So you guys have a good one.
Salute. Appreciate you. I get what Cam's saying on the position, the player, no, but the position for sure. That's why in some of these mocks, when I see Mingo or Tillman or Perry or any other guys you guys know that are X type, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. It feels like a very odd draft though when it comes to size. There's a lot of smaller-ish wide receivers, whether it be height or whether it be weight. And Steven talked about it. That's why Johnson's another guy, but that's why you heard that name brought up. I do think they like to have that because that's traditionally the type of receivers they draft. But I also think they understand what's in front of them, meaning there ain't a whole lot of those dudes early in this draft. Why you see them bringing in, working out Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, like these guys are all also on their radar. They understand what's in front of them. But Dez Bryant, nah, bro, I'm good on Dez, man. I'm good on Dez, and I love Dez. He was my favorite player in the draft because in the league because he reminded me of my favorite player ever, Michael Irvin. So, I'd love to have prime Dez on this team. I would. All right, look, with no more calls, unfortunately, apologize, Cowboys Nation. We ran a little bit longer with Foot's segment, which I'm fine with because we got a lot of fantastic stuff out of that. So if you missed it, run that thing back. He broke down his top 5 deepest positions. Number 5 was, let me see here. All right, number 5 was wide receiver. Number 4 was the interior offensive line. Number 3 was defensive back. Number 2 was tight end, and number 1 was running back. I'm breaking up. See, perfectly why we got to get up out of here. Usually when stuff like that happens, go in, go out, come back in, see what happens. But regardless, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Do me a favor on the way out, though, before you click out and come back in, or if you're clicking out and staying out, hit the like button. Helps us out. Hit the sub button if you're new. You jumped in here. I saw we had about 5 or so up in here. If you are new and you like the show, you like the style, you like everything you see, you want to be a part of the Bomb Squad.
Bomb Squad!
You got to sub up, man. You got to sub up and be a part of the conversation. That's what I love about the Bomb Squad. I love about our community and how we do this with the nation. Like I like to have conversations with them, whether we agree or disagree. Like I always say, I don't give a damn about being right or damn wrong. I just want to have the conversation. I want the conversation to have context. I want the conversation to be intelligent, fun at times or whatnot. And I love chatting it up with y'all. But I'm not in this thing to be, look at me. I don't give a damn. I want to talk about it because I love talking about the Cowboys. I love talking about football with y'all. So if y'all like doing that and you want to be a part of it, hit the like button and sub up. I got to hit a watch. I'm not sure if we're back on today or not. I know this week is going to be interesting because of the draft. There will be no Thursday show. There will be a live stream for the draft. So I got to see what's going on with that. But somebody had asked him, I don't think it was Daywalker Vaughn, am I doing a draft day party? Yeah, me and Foots are going to be covering the draft about midway through the first round and then day 2 we'll be doing the same thing. But I'll be kind of in and out on Vacha's show early, just kind of hanging with them as well. So I'll have more details on that for y'all. Plus, we got a surprise on Thursday, the morning of the draft. I almost forgot to, let me do super chats. It ain't right if I don't do super chats. It ain't right if I don't do super chats. So I'm going to get through these real quick. I won't spend too much time on them, unfortunately, because we got to wrap this thing up. So we had
Super chat.
We already got smoke one for you. Appreciate you. Black Lion dropped one and said, would you draft Avila or Henley in the second? I'd go Avila, but obviously, what did you do in the first? What if you already took the guard? What if you took the tackle, moved the guard? But I'd go Avila. Tricks dropped one, said that World Heavyweight Championship belt was looking clean. That belt is, I like it. Some people was turned off by it. I think it's dope. Pays homage to the big gold belt, but also keeps that new flavor to it. I think it's clean as hell. Honestly, it looks way better than the belts they use now. Towboat Drop One said, at this point, I'd pay to watch Jerry and Joe Biden have a conversation. Towboat, I swear I was thinking of Joe Biden when I was listening to Jerry go sideways. I was like, why? Joe Biden is 99 years. I don't know why they got him up there talking. And then L dropped one earlier and said, Freaky Mike said, you seem as if you like to talk. I like to let people talk who like to talk. It makes it easier to find out how full of shit they are. Shout out to Jackie Chan. All right, man. Now we get up out of here and press this button. Two Broke said it. Yeah, it pays homage to the big gold, which that ain't my favorite belt. Everybody loves a big gold. I'm big eagle belt. That's one of my favorites, and then the original wing eagle belt. But this one is dope, man. Plus, I like the white Intercontinental Championship better than that. We out of here. Peace.